Hey, my name's Paul Maxwell. I'm the CEO of RevOps HQ. We are a certified HubSpot solutions partner, and today we're going to talk about how to set up your HubSpot if you're an MSP or an IT services company, and exactly how that should work. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to just let you know that I'm not going to talk about all of the things that are related to HubSpot's marketing and social media. So for example, we have other demos on that, and there are other videos on that. You can connect your social media, all of your advertising campaigns, all of your email. This is the stuff that HubSpot does out of the box really, really, really well. What HubSpot requires customization to do is to set up its object model. So I'm just going to move forward and tell you that HubSpot is one database of everything that your business touches, every client, every person, every job, every request, with the work that happens to them that is attached. And so what that means is whether you're using Jira or some other vendor or Kaseya or something like that, ultimately you want HubSpot to be your single pane of glass so you can track everything directly inside HubSpot. Okay. Now, here's the object model that I'm talking about. We're going to look at this and then we're going to go into your HubSpot to see exactly how it works. What do I mean by object model, first of all? So an object in HubSpot is just their word for a table. Okay. So if you think about this in SQL or database terms here, you have a table, which is an object. If you're familiar with Python, it's similar to a class. Okay, so contacts, companies, deals, and tickets are the core four objects of HubSpot. And if I click on one of these objects, I will see a table. If I click on the companies object, I will see this table of objects, this table of records. Okay, and each column is what HubSpot calls a property. Other vendors call them attributes. Right? Microsoft, for example, doesn't call these objects; it calls them entities. All right, but in HubSpot, they're objects. So contacts are individual people. Companies are organizations. Contacts, think these are entities with a social security number. Companies, not that you track social security numbers in HubSpot, although you can with a specific PII or sensitive data add-on. But with contacts, you have individuals. Companies, you have organizations. Deals are transaction opportunities that arise from with those contacts and companies. And tickets are customer service opportunities that arise from those transactions. Now, in HubSpot, those are the core four: contacts, companies, deals, and tickets. But if you're an MSP or IT company, we're going to add two, which is your service agreement and your site. Okay. And we're going to show you how you manage all those and view all those inside HubSpot. Okay. Additionally, we're going to show you some of the workflows that you can do. So for example, if I have my MSP workflows, this is the custom logic that I can have inside HubSpot. So I can have a QBR cadence. So every quarter I review the quarterly business review with a company and automatically send them an email. I can build custom branching logic, any kind of classic sort of coding based or programming based logic I can build and implement inside of HubSpot. And then of course, I have my business intelligence dashboard here inside HubSpot, where I can also use these objects to report on. So before we get in deeply into all of that, let me just give you a tour through these custom objects, which are, again, the core four objects inside of HubSpot, which are contacts, companies, deals, tickets, and then also service agreement and site, right? So for contacts, we're not adding a ton of custom properties. You'll see why, because a lot of those properties and attributes that we're tracking on the contact can be tracked in the objects it's associated to. On the companies, we can track contracted seats, actual seats, what their primary site is, when their contract ends. We can also create a calendar view in HubSpot where the calendar setting, it goes by contract ends. Okay. And now we have a calendar of all of our contract end dates, right? Which is pretty cool. So we can see all of these calendar end dates are coming up. We can also go back to a board view here for companies. So we can see these are lead companies, these are customer companies. And again, we're viewing the same records, right? I can sort these by contract end date, right? So I can say, okay, I want to see all the contract end dates. I want to see the ones that are coming up, right? Next, we can view all of our deals inside HubSpot. This is typically what we have as a deal desk, or these are services, for example. So we have all of these deals that are signed. So no new leads coming in, which is bad, but we've got a ton of closed won deals, which I guess is good. And then finally, we can track sites. So how many site seats they have, how many tickets they have, whether the site health is healthy, monitor, investigate, remediation proposed or remediation underway, as well as on-site travel. Okay. As well as the site type, which we're going to look at how that's related to other attributes in a moment. Not only sites, but we also have service agreements. And these service agreements are a table of agreement status, monthly recurring, contracted seats, the seat drift, the hours consumed, and the effective hourly rate, as well as the margin status. So are we actually retaining a run rate on this specific service agreement that is acceptable to us or not? And of course, all these values can be automated. Now, all this stuff, you can look at this and obviously say, well, we could do this in a spreadsheet, right? Well, the power of doing this in HubSpot is that you have this database table that is also connected to all of the HubSpot's workflows that it does really well. So for example, if you have leads that are connected to deals that are at earlier parts in your pipeline, like technical assessment, I can run a Google Ads campaign on contacts in this that are directly targeted to people that are problem aware and solution aware. And for example, I could also say, I want any contact that's associated to a deal that's competitive with another MSP. I want to run ads targeting that person on specifically why our MSP is best, right? So with HubSpot, it's not just about having all this stuff. It's about having all this stuff in a place where you can generate outsized value for your company by leveraging the features of HubSpot that really shine. Okay. So it's about connecting it to a marketing, sales, and customer service engine. That's really good. So, but even then, in HubSpot, I like to think of it like this. There are three things you can do with data. You can view it and you can interact with it. You can automate it like we are doing in these workflows, and you can visualize it like we are doing in this business intelligence dashboard. And so in HubSpot, if I want to interact with data, and if you're like me and you're technical and sometimes you just want to interact with the data directly, having this table is nice, but what I want to do is I want to see the relational quality of this data to other data, right? So now I can click into this contact. I can see where this contact's headquarters are in HubSpot. I can see where the associated sites are, what associated service agreements they have, what deals they've been associated to, what companies they're associated to. Here on the company, again, I can customize this extremely easy. If I say on this company record, I want to be able to see all of the sites that exist here. It's very easy for me to say, okay, I want to add this table and I want to add these sites that are associated with this company. Okay. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to say MSP site. I want to see the address, right? Great. Save and exit. You see how easy that was? That took me 2 seconds. And now I can see all the sites associated to this company. I can add maps over here on the left as well, right? Where I look at an account or at a company, I can see all their addresses. I see all their contacts, right? But again, the most important thing here is that I have a relational view of everything that I need to see inside this company, inside this record view, right? So I can interact with this. I can automate things based on it, all of that kind of thing. Another thing that I can do is I can go into a company here. If I click into a company record, and I can see all of the logs, all of the calls, all of the notes, all of the calling transcripts, okay? And also, I can see, for example, if I'm on a site, and I want to see, for example, all of the tickets associated with that site, I can. And let's just add some associated tickets here. I want to see every single ticket that's associated to this site. And a ticket, again, is something that you can honestly have instead of Jira, right? So, or even instead of Kaseya, in some depending on your use case. I've done some work in the cybersecurity space before, and I know that there's a lot of features in Kaseya that are not necessarily replaceable just by a custom database and marketing solution like HubSpot. But you can integrate all of that here. And you can basically customize this completely so that you have this object view inside HubSpot. And so based on this data model that you have inside HubSpot that's connected to all of these great marketing and sales features, you can have a process that you implement in HubSpot through storing this data model, creating workflows in HubSpot, and then generating business intelligence reports. So for example, let's say that you have an inquiry that arrives and gets sourced. Then the environment gets assessed before that price is set. Then you have in the sales process, the agreement is signed and becomes a record that it lives on, right? Here we have that service agreement object. That's where we understand exactly what the service agreement is, what the monthly recurring is, your contracted seats, your seat drift, all that stuff. And that can be, again, if that's associated to the company or the account or the contact. You can track your billing contact, your point of contact, everything on that service contract. Then onboarding ends at adoption, not at a handover. And finally, you move to service. This is where you're tracking your tickets in HubSpot, okay? Slow workstation, cannot connect to shared drive, new starter setup. And you can say, okay, automatically, this is waiting on us, this is waiting on contact, or this is closed. And you can have a workflow that automatically sends a transactional email notification to that client to let them know that their ticket's been closed. You can also have a ticketing portal inside HubSpot that automatically lets them log in, and HubSpot handles the registration, the OAuth, everything. You could even add an SCIM login credential so that you can manage the identity of all the people that need to log into your HubSpot. And if you need to have any kind of HIPAA compliance or compliance framework applied to those logins where people can see the tickets of their company that's hosted on HubSpot's ticketing dashboard, then you can just do that with a HubSpot Enterprise subscription. Next, the hours land against the agreement every single month. Seat drift gets caught in the month that it happens. So here, this is actually going to specific workflows. Let's say that we have a seat drift true-up workflow. Boom. Contracted seats is unknown. Now we have to understand exactly what the seat drift is, right? And we have to assign that to somebody. Then let's say we have a bad site stops being absorbed and actually starts being sold. So this is something that all of a sudden, if we have a bad site, we need to start upping their engagement. That's something HubSpot's going to tell us immediately. Then from a reporting perspective, we can see the effective hourly rate, the effective agreement, the effective hourly rate on every agreement, the renewal calendar stacked by whether it should renew unchanged, and then one screen for the owner. So let's actually go into our dashboard that's built on the object model that I just showed you in HubSpot. So based on this, we have renewal status broken down by margin. So for example, we've got not started, profitability reviewed, repriced, renewed, and renewed or reduced. So this is all of our contracts coming up for renewal. And then we want to understand the status. So what's our margin on them? Are they healthy? Do we need to watch them? Are we at risk, or is this a loss making? So for example, we need to review profitability on our loss making deals here. And if I click on this, it's going to give us an automatic list of all of these agreements that need to be re-engineered. Okay, boom. And we can have a QBR, or we can sit down and have a meeting as a business team and decide, what do we want to do? How do we want to reprice this engagement or make it more profitable for us? Next, we have ticket volume by site type, head office, clinic, retail, plant, things like that. We can set SLAs. We have our total on-site travel minutes for the month or for the year. You can set that based on any timeline you want. You have seat drift by agreement status. You have site health broken down by site type, right? Healthy, monitor, investigate, remediation proposed, whether that's a head office or a branch or a plant or a warehouse, right? Then this is kind of like your site health dashboard. Then we have, and that's obviously automatically updated. Then we have agreements by margin health, right? So we've got a lot that are loss making, 29.9% that are loss making, 28.7% that are healthy, et cetera. Then we've got MRR by margin status broken down by agreement status, right? So here's our margin status, healthy, watch, at risk, or loss making. And here's our agreement status, active, in renewal, repriced, right? So let's say we've got $191,000 MRR, that's healthy margin currently in renewal status. That needs to be paid attention to, and we need to take a white glove approach to these specific accounts. Next, we've got effective hourly rate by margin status. So healthy, watch, at risk, and loss making. Then we've got seats proposed by agreement type, fully managed or co-managed, right? 777 fully managed seats, 411 co-managed, and 531 on a per seat basis. Then we've got agreement type, number of agreements by type, agreement status broken down by margin status, seat site count by site type. So for example, we've got 1170 head office seats, 2239, healthy head office seats, things like that. We've got site type broken down by site health status. We've got monthly recurring agreement status. And then finally, we've got total monthly recurring here in HubSpot based on our contract object if you use Revenue Hub. So all this stuff is great. And if you go to a HubSpot solutions partner, they're going to charge you probably 20 to 30,000, maybe more to build out this setup and all these reports and all these workflows inside HubSpot. We've already built 90% of this skeleton. And you're probably looking at this saying, yeah, but our business is a little different. Yeah, we understand that. Every single business that gets onto HubSpot and implements HubSpot in their business needs some customization so that it can work for their core business model and business logic. But what we've done is we've already built all of, again, this core object logic. This is the data model that you need with maybe one or two additional objects. And once you have that, we have all the reporting, all the workflows, all of the views already built out in HubSpot, which gets you 90% of the way there. And we can do this for a much more cost-effective price and then do the manual lift with you to overcome that remaining 10% of customization that needs to occur. And then you're onboarded onto HubSpot right away in a way that dozens of other MSPs have already done successfully. So that's kind of our value proposition here is, hey, don't let another HubSpot agency partner charge you $30,000 to rebuild what we've already built. Let's just take ours and do a small engagement and get you spun up, immediately. We've got all the custom properties, all the custom objects, all the reports, and all the workflows on this specific data model already built out in HubSpot. So use my meeting link in the show notes, schedule a meeting link with me. If you're an MSP provider or an IT provider and you're considering HubSpot, let us know. Happy to meet with you, do a deeper demo with you, and talk about getting you set up, onboarded, or configured on HubSpot. Thanks so much for watching, and best of luck in your business.